All right. So I thought what I'll do is just just give a little story time on about what the Eastern Conference was about back then and what was going on. Okay, so 87-88 season, as we all know, the Lakers won the championship. They was holding the Western Conference down. Western Conference was not the juggernaut that it is now and has been for the past, what, 20 something years, maybe, I think. But we're going to concentrate on the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference was divided into two divisions. You had the Eastern Division, you had the Central Division. In the Eastern Division, you had Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, New Jersey. And the Central Division, which where all the action was going, was Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Indiana. All right. So the Eastern Conference, not the Eastern Conference, well, the Eastern Conference was competitive, but as opposed to the Division, the Eastern Division only had three teams that was competitive. Out of those three, Boston was still at the top because they had just lost to the Lakers the year prior. And yeah, because the Lakers went back to back 87, 80, 87, 88. They won. 89, 90 was the Pistons. Then Chicago took over. Then in the middle, the 2 years Jordan retired, it was Houston. All right, so Chicago, which is where all this conversation is coming from whatever, was Jordan was coming off. That was the full year after Jordan had came back from the broken foot. Well, that was the year after the Boston 63 game when they lost, against Boston. When they got swept. So Jordan was on a mission. Doug Collins was the coach. That was the year that they drafted Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant were developing. Grant was a little quicker, and but they was holding it down. Well, he was holding it down for his position, and the whole team. That's the team that had Charles Oakley. Before they traded him, they had Charles Oakley. They went on to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs, and that started the Cleveland Cavaliers' descent into, you want to say mediocrity? I don't want to put it that bad because they were still, meeting the Bulls in the playoffs after that. But for all intents and purposes, Cleveland wasn't gonna win it. It wasn't even a thought process. Then you had Milwaukee, who was always a solid team, coached by Dale Harris. They had, is that the year? I'm trying to think. Is that Terry Cummings? Was Terry Cummings on that team still before they traded him to the Spurs? But they had they had a nice little solid team with Sidney Moncrief. He was on the end. He was at the end of it almost. Paul Pressey, Paul McKeskey, I think Jack Sigma. Jack Sigma was on that team. They was a formidable team. Then you had Indiana. Indiana had Chuck Person. That was Reggie Miller's first year. Reggie Miller took a little bit of time to develop. I mean, I think I remember the comment on the video that started me wanting to make all this. Reggie Miller was better than Pippen. Reggie Miller was not better than Pippen for the overall. Reggie Miller had way more longevity than Scottie Pippen, because he played what, like close to 20 years. But I mean, Reggie Miller was that's a video for another time. But it kind of ties in because of what he does on on the broadcast on the NBA now. So like you kind of get a feel of what type of personality we was dealing with back then. You know, the famous fight between him and Jordan. Well, it was really, well, Jordan gave him a two piece, but I mean, like the whole thing to me back then was the grab of the head Jordan did. You know, that was hilarious. All right, so I'm going off a little track, but um, the main point I'm trying to make with this is that the Eastern Conference was not a joke, and for you to go there, you had to play hard. It was kind of like the Big East in college. I could talk about that too, because that was some of the best college basketball back then. It was kind of said that, you know, the college game was better than the pros, and that was true to a point. So, um, just to wrap it up a little bit, um, the Eastern Conference wasn't a joke, and for you to be in the East, you had to have an edge to you. That was a physical conference. Um, we all know Detroit came out of that conference when the playoffs kicked off. Detroit came out and they met the Lakers. The Lakers kind of cheated them a little bit. You know, I mean, well, they didn't cheat them. I mean, it's the same thing. This stuff has been going on for like a long time. That call against Lambeer against against Kareem, that was some garbage. I remember watching that. And the Pistons back then, my mama was a heavy Pistons fan because we moved from Detroit, so she was riding with Detroit. And I used to watch those games too, because I mean, like, that was some hype basketball. Magic against Isaiah, and you know, Isaiah Thomas. I that's what's so wild about nowadays. Like, all these figures from back in the day, as they age, they kind of, but that happens when you get older. You know, you kind of play yourself. Like, it might happen to Jordan, but Jordan keep himself closed off. Like, you don't see Jordan out there too much. My man Pippen is out there. You know, he's out there with the people. I remember meeting him at the mall, at our local mall, at the Pecan Mall. I met him. I didn't rush him because, you know, like, I had that line in my head from Ice Cube. Yo, shake my hand and give it a firm shake. Say what up, Ice Cube, and then break. You know, that's what I had in my head. So when I saw him, I was just like, what's up? And he was like, what's up? And I think he had his brother with him, or, you know, he had somebody with him, and they walked off. And later on, you know, like, after going through the mall, my girl at the time, her cousin worked at McDonald's, and she was like, Scottie Pippen was through here, and everybody was after him and stuff. So I mean, like, you know, I don't, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to protect Pippen or any of that, but it's sad to see that, you know, like a championship player, and they won 6 championships. Magic won 5, Bird won 3. I mean, it's not all about championships, but like, for you to be in the championship conversation, your team, it wasn't just one man. It wasn't just one man running, you know, doing it. It was a few players, and that Bulls team was not highlighted about them. They were one of the smartest teams in the NBA at that time. That's the reason why it wasn't no problem after they won the championship, because they had solved the puzzle. Detroit was the top. They had to knock them off. Once they knocked them off, it was on. I mean, not Pippen. Barkley and Ewing was in that. Bird was like falling off. So the next top players up were Ewing and Barkley. And Ewing had went back to it goes back from college. He goes back to college as far as like Michael Jordan always denying Patrick Ewing and Barkley. That was my boy back in the day. I got it. I still got the jersey I got for Christmas from him back then. That's how big of a fan I was for Barkley back in the day. Every time like we get on the court, I'd be like, Barkley, and that's the thing. A lot of people, when they talking about Jordan, they want to hold him up like he was, like, yeah, he was exciting to watch. He was. I mean, like, even now when I watch a game, on YouTube or whatever, like when I see Jordan do some of the stuff that he was doing back then, I'd be like, Jordan. But I mean, like, Pippen was I knew Pippen was the determining factor on them going because like his athletic ability, and the way he played the game, it was only going to get better from there. Now, that Eastern Conference back in the day, going back to it, just because they knocked off Detroit, don't mean the end of the physical play stopped. It was at least 2 to 3 more teams when they went through the playoffs was trying to beat them up, and New York was next on the list. Everybody knows about that. So I mean, like, they was beating Pippen up, and he took all that. He wasn't laying on the ground crying and all that other stuff. Jordan wouldn't allow that. I mean, but like, it was mad physical back then. It was a toll to go through the playoffs, even after they won the championship. It was a toll those bodies had to pay. Just because Jordan had bulked up, don't mean that he didn't take the physical pounding too. He could handle it better, but like it took Pippen a couple more years, even after they won the championship, to get strong. But like if you go through and look at the way they was winning the championship, Pippen was an integral part. He was hitting timely shots. The game that Jordan hit that first shot against Cleveland, Pippen hit a timely 3 before that. And I think Jordan hit a jumper, a pull-up jumper after that. But I mean, like, suffice to say, I remember the closing game against Philadelphia. Pippen came back from when his daddy passed away, and he put on a show. He was killing. I mean, it's been other times. I mean, I could go on and on. But I mean, like, I'm gonna make some more. But this is just another one just to add to. Peace out.